What's going on, you guys? Spring is around the corner. It's February, the snow is starting to melt, and you guys know what that means. You guys started off this year saying, hey, I'm gonna buy a house, and this is gonna be A to Z on how to do that. Starting with your financials in the beginning, clearing you all the way to them keys is inside your hand. Now, I'm gonna be giving you guys some visuals. I'm gonna be giving you guys a lot of stories, not only of my experience buying a house, but also of a lot of our clients and what they were going through and some things that really help you out. So I'm gonna put some visuals on top of the screen right now, and then now we can really get into it. Any questions, any comments, any concerns about anything, make sure you guys drop them down below. And in that way, we can get them answered for you guys with a phone call, email, text, or we could just do it in a side video for you guys. All right, so let's get to it. I'm gonna pull up my roadmap right here and we're gonna get to it. So obviously, my name is Devontae Davis. I've been doing this a long time. First time home buyers and relocation is my thing. So this is all how to buy a house inside the Buffalo area right here, right? So inside the Buffalo area, but if you guys just come across this, this could be for any of you guys, okay? So now let's get started here. Number one is going to be planning your finances. Guys, we have to plan our finances. This is honestly the most important step that we honestly can do. We can do nothing without money. This is that pre-approval is going to be basically your cash in hand, right? This is going to be saying, hey, Mr. or Mr. Seller, we love 123 Main Street. We got our pre-approval. We're going to submit that with our offer. Our finances, knowing what we can afford, and most importantly, setting our budget is going to be key in everything that we do, and we have to start here. All that fun stuff we can deal with later. Setting our budget is going to be the very first thing that we must do, guys, okay? Now, first thing I really want to tell you guys is setting a budget. Just because the bank gives you $500,000 do not mean you have to spend $500,000, right? And we also don't want to set ourselves up for failure with looking at houses that's a $500,000 when we only got a pre-approved for $350, you know? So those are things that we must think about. But setting your budget according to A, your pre-approval, and then B, what you guys can comfortably afford. This is going to be huge because if you guys are trying to take on $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 a month when you're just scraping by at $2,500, that doesn't make any sense, right? We're going to stick with our $2,500 budget if that's all we can afford comfortably. We can always upgrade later, guys. Remember, this is your first house. This is not your forever home. For some of you, your first house may be your forever home, but for a lot of you guys, you're going to outgrow it. You're going to get a bigger yard. You're going to add a dog or extra baby to the mix. So set your budget now of what you can afford. As you guys upgrade later, if you choose to, you guys can always upgrade later down the line. All right, but setting your budget. Now, generally when it comes to budget, right? Most banks are going to take 25% of whatever your gross income is, and then you're going to be able to get that comfortably at a mortgage. So let me break that down for you guys. So let's say your gross income, right? Is going to be $4,000 per month. Generally, most banks are going to use between 0.25 to, I would say, like 0.33, sometimes 0.28, depending on what bank it is. Some banks may be a little more lenient than others, right? So they're going to multiply that. So let's say they use 0.25, right? 4,000 times 0.25 gives you $1,000, right? $1,000 all the way. If they use 0.33, that's going to be 3220, right? 1320. Sorry about that. So that's off your gross income. That's generally what they're going to use for your straight housing cost. So obviously, the more money that you guys are making, the more money that could be used towards your housing expense. That's generally what is going to be there. Now, this is important because not only does this allow you to set your budget, but this is kind of how they're going to approve you based on what you guys really want and what you guys, this is Now, this is important because this is how you're going to get your pre-approval. This is how they're going to look to say, hey, you can afford, that $350,000 house, or that $500,000 house, or that $250,000 house. This is how they're going to pre-approve you. Now, sometimes there's some wiggle room, right? They may can go up or down. It's always going to depend on the bank, but this is generally a good rule of thumb on how to set your budget for yourselves. You really don't want to go over this 0.25 to kind of 0.33 of your housing expense. I know it may seem low, but just as a good rule of thumb and to keep you guys, the rest of your expenses, saving, investing, all that good stuff, you want to make sure that you kind of stick close to that budget if you guys can. And with setting your budget, this is going to allow you to avoid becoming house poor. You don't need to keep up with the Joneses, guys. I promise you. That HGTV stuff, the stuff you see on Instagram, and they giving you, all this money with this low down payment, you don't want to be head over heels with your first house, okay? Make sure you guys are setting your budget, knowing what you actually can afford, and then moving forward from there on. Do not try to keep up with the Joneses. This is a bad thing. I see a lot of people buying more house than they actually can afford because you can't forget about your upfront costs, and we'll get into this in just a little bit. So this is your down payment, your closing costs, your inspection fees, your appraisal fees. These are all out-of-pocket expenses that we would need to be able to afford. And you also want to plan for maintenance, guys, right? Sometimes you can have, right? Let's say you can spend $5,000 a year on maintenance, right? Sometimes it could be a little bit higher depending on the age of the home, and then also depending on how much work is needed coming into buying the home. A lot of the boomers right now, or a lot of houses right now is grandma's house, right? Which haven't been touched since the 80s or 90s. These are things you got to think about. If the bathroom hasn't been touched since the 80s, just little fixes here and there, maybe some plumbing work was done, or maybe a new faucet. But if you coming in there, you got to slap in a new tile bathroom or a silicone bathtub, or you coming in there replacing all the cabinets and countertops, right? These are things that you have to budget for. Now, you can always do this year by year. You don't have to do this right away, but these are maintenance costs that you must be aware of coming up front. A lot of people have things that go wrong. It's gonna go wrong. It's a house. It's nothing to trip over. It's nothing to lose your head over, but you're going to have maintenance costs. You're gonna have a furnace that may need some tuning up, right? Your hot water tank, if you buy it and it's already 15 years old, you want to set that to the budget, later on, or, start putting some money to the side later on, so that once the hot water tank does go, you have that $1,500 it needs to replace that entire hot water tank, or $2,000 depending on how big a hot water tank that you guys need. All right, so make sure that you guys know what you need going in, what to budget for, and have a little bit of reserve for those upfront costs, that maintenance costs, and sticking within your budget. Remember that $1,000 to $1,320 that just gave you a rough estimate on as far as your budget. These are the things that you're going to need to be aware of, right? Your principal is included in that, right? Your principal, your mortgage insurance, or your PMI. So your PMI is generally going to be for your FHA loans, and then your MPI, your mortgage premium insurance, or MIP, I'm sorry, mortgage insurance premium, is going to be for your conventional loans, right? You also have taxes, right? You have your homeowners. And for you guys, we don't have these in Buffalo, which is a good thing, but in some case, if you guys are thinking about moving in Ransom Oaks, then yes, you will have your HOA fees, very small, but you'll still have an HOA fees. But here's what's fixed, right? Your principal payment is going to be fixed. This is a fixed. That means this is not going to change. Your principal payment is not going to change. Your mortgage insurance is not going to change, and your taxes are not going to change. Your homeowners that's a variable, right? This can change, up or down depending on where you guys live or how old or new your house is, right? HOAs fixed, right? So these are things that you must think about when it comes to your home owners, right? And again, deciding on how much that you guys are going to spend on a house. Again, that general rule of thumb is going to be 25%. Sometimes they can bump it up to that 33%, okay? So that's something that you guys really want to pay attention to. That principal payment is not going to move. That mortgage insurance is not going to move. Taxes is not going to move at all. Those things are right into it. Now, when it comes to that cost of a home, as we just talked about, your utilities, again, something that you guys want to budget for. If you guys are pulling in $4,000, okay, and you paying, $1,500 or that $1,300 for a mortgage, you guys can do that, right? But you got to think about your utilities. That's an extra cost for you guys. When you're thinking about a water bill, right, you pay that water bill quarterly. So in Buffalo, you always pay your water bill quarterly. So March, what is that? January, March, oh my God. August, September, and then at the end of the year, yeah, December. So you guys have that quarterly payment, something that you guys want to think about. Generally, water is going to be very cheap, right? Maybe $70 a month. I mean, $70 for the quarter, right? But your utilities, if you're leaving a TV on all day, right? You got that electric bill coming, that can range. But on average, you should be looking around, I would say, $100 a month, maybe 125 every single month. Gas in the wintertime, all right, this winter has been super cold. So you could be looking at, 150 in the wintertime or 200 if you got it cranking up. And then in the summertime, that's gonna drop down to $50, right? Unless you're using a propane grill that you got hooked up to the house every single day. That might be $50, $40, right? But you also have your sewer, which is gonna be maybe $27, but that's generally attached to your water bill, right? Now, these days you have Wi-Fi to think about. Wi-Fi is a must in our day and age. If you guys have Verizon, you're typically gonna pay around $100 a month. That's what I'm paying right now, $100 a month. If you guys go the Spectrum route, you may pay $80 a month. Personally, if it's me, I will go Verizon Fios. It's a way better internet service and provider. So that's something that, you guys have to pay attention to and you guys have to budget for. So if we're looking at that, what is that? Let's go Wi-Fi 100, let's go gas 150, especially for the summertime. That's what, 250. And then you also have electric, let's call that's 300. Water, that's gonna be what, 420. So if you are including that sewer into, so you got an extra $420. So let's say, what was that? 1320, let's just go 1400 for even numbers, plus 420 for your utilities. You have about 1820 inside just for your monthly bills, and that's just your house. That's not including your car. That's not including your going out expenses and things like that. So those are numbers that you guys really want to think about. And then again, we talked about maintenance already, and then also any upgrades that you guys would like to do inside the house. So you have to budget for everything, guys. You got to budget for everything. All right. Now, as we start to, those are a lot of the cost of the home. We'll get into down payment in a little bit when we start to talk about the different types of loans. But the first things first, right? I know that was a lot of information. Don't let your emotions get in the way. This is honestly my number one tip for a reason. The reason being a couple different things. You don't want to freak out on all of those payments and say, hey, I'm just not getting a house anymore. You're going to be stuck in that boat forever. The biggest thing I can ever tell anybody, and I always recommend this, is that when you're shopping for a house, the biggest thing is going to be your mindset. And then that mindset is going to control your emotions. You guys want to, as hard as it's going to be, you guys want to stay on an even keel throughout the entire process, not getting too high, not getting too low. When you're shopping for a house, it's gonna be fun, right? It's gonna be fun until you lose your first offer. Then you're gonna be pissed, right? Or you're gonna be super upset, right? Because you didn't get the house that you really wanted, right? That's going to happen. I'm telling you, especially in this market, especially in Buffalo, you're going to have houses that you really like, and someone may outbid you on it. It's one of those tricks of the trade. It comes with the territory. So try to manage your emotions. And then, right, you can get that house that you really love. And let's say we do the home inspection and it comes back, you are gonna need to replace that hot water tank, or you may need to get some flooring and stuff done. Now we can always try to negotiate those things, but you're gonna be angry that everything is not perfect moving in. Nothing is gonna be perfect on your way in moving into a house. $1 million house, I guarantee you, you're gonna at least rip up some carpet and paint some walls. That's money, right? It doesn't matter what it is, right? Just because you spend that much money on a house don't mean nothing is going wrong with it, right? But doesn't mean if you buy something for $250, everything is broken with it, right? So make sure you guys are keeping your emotions in check. It's gonna be very hard, but that's why I'm here. Even if you guys don't use me, even with your realtor, try to really keep that anger down or that enjoyment way too high until you get the keys in your hand, guys, okay? Now, speaking of loans, speaking of down payments, there are going to be really 4 main types of loans that we're going to see, or that you guys can really get into. The loan that you get is going to be predicated on the income that you guys have, right? So the income that you guys are pulling in, your down payment that you guys can afford, so whether that's 3%, 3.5%, 5%, 10%, 20%, right? Those are the typical kind of down payments. And it also is going to depend on your guys' credit score, right? Those are really going to be the types of loans and how that's kind of determined. So remember your credit score, income, the type of house that you're going to buy, your down payment, and then your income, okay? I think I said income twice on that, but those are going to be the 4 main types. Now, the 4 main types are going to be the things that you probably are hearing already, but it's probably going to be your conventional loans, right? So let's start with conventional. We'll move on FHA, USDA, and then we'll finally move on to VA. Conventional loans. This is right now the best type of loan to me because you can either do 3% on a first-time home buyers, which is really nice, right? 3% on a first-time home buyers all the way up until 5%. Now, you guys can always put down more if you want to. It's very easy to do. You guys can always put down more, but this is the typical range for a conventional loan. Now, if you look closely here, your minimum credit score here is going to be around 680 for a conventional loan. So remember, your credit is going to play a factor. 680 generally will be able to get you a really nice conventional loan. 3% down all the way up to 5% on a minimum, right? This can also be used as an investment property or a rental property, which is pretty good. Now, you can always use FHA. You have to wait a year generally to be able to rent it out, and we'll get into that in just one second. But typically, if you're going to use this as a house hack, right? So you're living in one, renting out the other. Yes, you can do that with an FHA, but when it comes to conventional, you don't have to wait that year necessarily. You can automatically rent that out, using it still as your primary residence, and then after that, once that's up, you can always start to just rent it out right away. Now, again, this can be as low as 3% down for a first-time home buyer. Sonny Mae is giving out 3% loans, right? A lot of local banks, M&Ts, your Chase banks, all the big lenders right now are giving out 97% loan to value or LTV loans out. So that means you're only putting down 3%, which is a beautiful thing. And also, once you reach 20% equity inside your house, so let's say you buy at 100,000, right? And all the rest of your neighbors start selling for 125, 150, 175. Once you build that 20% equity within your home, or you're paying down that 20% equity in your home, this mortgage premium. So once you get it down to, 75, 80,000, once you kind of get that, your mortgage insurance, or that MIP, is going to fall off, which generally will lower your monthly payment, which is a beautiful thing. Now, when it comes to FHA, you need this helps you out too if you guys have a lower credit score. So a 580. So generally conventional 680, FHA 580, right? This is going to be key because for you guys with lower credit, this will help you guys out a lot. Now, the difference between conventional and FHA has to be a little more move-in ready, right? This can have no peeling paint. This needs at least 2 years left on your hot water tank, 2 years left on your furnace, 2 years left on your roof, no peeling paint, handrails in a lot of the major places that have 3 or more stairs. FHA is by the government. anything that's by the government they're gonna cross every T and dot every I, right? So that is something to know. But also, this is 3.5% down. You do get taxed with a 1.75% extra on top. When it comes to FHA, generally this could be in your monthly payment or your down payment. So with the lower credit score, you may be forced to put a little bit more down on top of the 3.5%, which comes out to 1.75. Now, the nice part about FHA is that you can typically get some extra grant money, right? Because typically you'll either your credit score will help you or your income will help you in this scenario. Now, I've seen people have just a lower credit score, but they had a lot of money saved up from, just years and years and piling it up in a bank. Now, typically, if your credit score is that low at a 580, right, they'll require you to put that more money down. So you may just have to put 10% down, right? Instead of that, maybe you get yourself to a 620 or 640 and you'll be able to put that 3.5% down. But if you definitely at a 580, then you'll probably have to definitely bump up your down payment to about 10%, right? Maybe 12% depending on the bank and how much leeway that they give you. Now, only thing about the mortgage insurance on this one is that this stays with the loan for the life of the loan. So it doesn't fall off at the 20% equity built up. This stays on for the longevity of the loan. So, in 5 years, if you're still living there, you could possibly try to think about refinancing. That will also help as well. And then that way you can, if you refinance to a lower or refinance into a conventional loan, you'll be able to do that and probably knock off that mortgage premium later on. But it's going to take a little bit to build up that equity, obviously. Now, USDA, this is going to be for, let me erase this a little bit. Now, USDA is going to be mainly for your rural areas. Now, let's say you guys are, I don't know, in Concord, way down there, or you guys are looking at Sanborn, you're looking for an acre of land or something crazy like that. This is where the USDA can be useful here, right? You can also put up to 0% down if you guys qualify. And then also, if you guys are building new in those rural areas, the USDA loan can also help you as well. Not a lot of people know about this one. Kind of tough to come by. You do need a little bit higher of a credit and things like that, but there's some, you just don't really see this one too often, but it is out there for you guys. Now, another 0% down loan is going to be your VA. VA is beautiful, but it's only designed for veterans. So if you're not a veteran, or I believe spouses or kids of veterans may be able to qualify too now. But if you're not a veteran, you cannot get this loan. It is 0% down though, so you can literally finance 100% of the loan, which is a beautiful thing, but you can only use it one at a time. You cannot have multiple VA loans. Now, you can keep reusing the loan, but you cannot use them in multiple houses at the same time. So you can't put 0% down here and go buy another one, 2 months later, go put 0% down over there. It doesn't work like that. So VA loans are beautiful though. It is a great program. Now, it does hurt sometimes if you're in a multiple offer situation. Same thing with the FHA loan. The FHA loan and that VA loan sometimes can get pushed to the back if you have, a 5 offer situation, 10 offer situation, and you see half of them with FHA and half of them with VA. That can hurt at that point just because most people are leaning over towards the conventional. I hate that other realtors do that, especially if the house is already moving ready and it doesn't need any work and you're not looking at those same stipulations as far as you think that the appraiser is going to mark X, Y, and Z wrong with it. I dislike that realtors do that, but it does happen. People go with the conventional loan, okay? So, or cash if it pops up that way. That's the biggest thing. So that's the difference. So conventional, remember, 3% all the way to 5%. FHA is going to be 3.5%. VA is going to be up to 0%, depending on, again, your credit and your employment and things like that. Okay, so those really are going to be the 4 main types that you guys are going to see when you guys start to apply. Now, when it comes to applying, the first thing you guys really want to do when you get financing is finding a good lender, right? Finding a good lender. I always recommend getting at least 2 to 3 different quotes from 2 to 3 different banks. When it comes to getting a lender, I like the local banks, especially here in the Buffalo area, local banks to me are always better. This is going to be your M&Ts, your credit unions, or your local owned brokers like Nickel City and Queen City. Local is better in the Buffalo area. It has been that way for years and years and years. Those literally, Rocket Mortgage literally just start coming here 3 years ago, right? And they started to get a good name for it. Nobody liked Rocket Mortgage for super long because they had a lot of issues. You got to think they deal with millions, if not hundreds of thousands a week loan applications. Like, you know what I'm saying? Now I'm exaggerating with those numbers, but they deal with tens of thousands of home applications every single week, right? Loan Depot is not here. So when you guys are applying online and so you're going to start to see those ads from Loan Depot, Rocket Mortgage. I hate Bank of America. So if you guys are going through Bank of America, I would rethink that. They are not good here. They promise a lot and deliver very little. I've never had a good experience with Bank of America ever, like ever, and it takes forever to close. Like they can take 3 months to close, which is ridiculous. It already take 2 months normally, but to take an extra month on top of that is absolutely ridiculous. So if it was me, I'm going with local banks. I work with M&T in Nickel City and Queen City a lot, but mostly M&T. M&T is the largest regional bank over here. They literally supply the most mortgages around Western New York, so you really can't go wrong with them. I got a great loan officer over there named Melanie Sweats. She's super good. If you guys need her contact, I will definitely put that down below. That way you can give her a call or just reach out to me. I won't put her contact information down there, but just reach out to me and we can easily get you connected. But honestly, anybody over at M&T has been very good. Even when I couldn't connect them with Melanie and still use M&T as a bank, they have been amazing. I'm telling you guys. But local banks are a lot better. Generally, they'll be able to get those grants and quotes that's flying around Erie County, right? Or if you're in Niagara County looking at some Niagara County grants and things like that, they'll be able to get you guys that money if you guys qualify for it. So let's say your income, I think the income limit right now is up below 67,000 for down payment assistance. So if you guys fall below that 67,000 and you're moving into a low to moderate income level area, you generally can get some type of grant money right now, which is beautiful. One of my clients literally right now is getting $7,500 towards her closing costs. Another one of my clients, they went through a Sony May. So Sony May is basically the ladder or first-time home buyers of FHA. They literally got 30 grand, $30,000 towards their first-time home buyers closing costs. And it was a grant. It doesn't have to be paid back. Now, what I will say is this. If you guys are receiving money from any bank, it doesn't matter what it is, make sure that money is a grant and not a second loan, right? That is going to be key. Let me break down the difference. A grant money is going to be free money, basically, right? Let's call it that. Let's call it free money. That's money you do not have to pay back. If you guys are getting a secondary loan and you move within whatever the requirements are, generally it's like 5 years or 7 years sometimes. If you guys move within that, that means you have to pay that money back and or possibly get taxed on that secondary loan option. And they put that in your second position on your title. So your first position is going to be obviously your mortgage, and then that second position is going to be that secondary loan, however much you take out to be able to pay for your closing costs. So make sure you guys using the grant and not the secondary loan if you don't have to. If you are in dire need of a house and you have to use the second loan, okay, you possibly have to do that. But if you don't do that. Just don't do it. Just wait. Get some gift money. So you can always get a gift from your family members or an aunt, a cousin, a mom, a dad. If they're able to support you in that way and can give you some money towards your closing costs, you can use that money. It's very easy to do. Hey, mom and dad, well, it's not that easy, but hypothetically, hey, mom and dad, I need a couple $1,000s to help me pay for my closing costs, right? To give me some gift money. They'll say, hey, they'll write a letter out. Hey, I'm John Smith and Jane Smith. We're giving X, Y, and Z you money towards your closing costs. And then they'll be able to give you the money and send you the money that way. So think about that when it comes to your grant money, secondary loan options. And if you can get it, get you guys some gift money. Now, moving on. When it comes to your application process, A soft pull on your credit is going to be needed, right? It's going to be a soft pull, right? It is not going to crush your credit. So whoever told y'all that was, it's a myth. I'm telling you, it's not gonna crush your credit. It's gonna hit you for maybe 1 to 3 points at max, right? It's a soft pull, but you need this in order to get a true pre-approval. Now, and this is what I mean by the big banks versus the local banks. A big bank, Rocket Mortgage. So if you're just filling out anything online, Loan Depot, you're just filling out anything online, they're gonna spit a number at you, right? They're just doing this based off your information that you put in. They don't verify a lot of things. Now, if you go through the necessary steps to verify your income, your credit, your down payment that you can put down, yes, right, you're good with them, right? Still don't like Loan Depot too much, but definitely Rocket Mortgage is a whole lot better. Still stay away from Bank of America. But this is how you get a true pre-approval and not just a pre-qualification. You want a true pre-approval. This is what you want to go with. The pre-qual is not what you want to go with, okay? So make sure you guys are thinking about that. It's a soft pull. Now, another advice is once you guys do go through your first lender, remember how I said I always get 2 to 3 different quotes? You guys want to be able to shop around as much as possible. So you have a 2-week window. Sometimes it's 3 weeks, but I would stick to it in 2 weeks so that the bureaus do not mess with you, right? 2-week windows. So from the first time they pull your credit, get 2 more quotes. So I will go to M&T, go to Nickel City, then go to Queen City and get 3 different quotes from everybody and see who gives you the best interest rate. See what your down payment is going to be. See if they're actually paying any points down, right, for you to be able to get a lower interest rate. Now, be careful with that because sometimes they'll say, hey, yeah, we'll give you 1% lower, but on the back end, they will try to trick you and you're paying for it up front, right? So they'll say, hey, I'll give you 5%. Everybody else is giving you 7%. Be wary of that. Not because your credit changed, right? You still probably got the same credit score, but if they're trying to give you a 2% lower, unless they got some crazy deal going on that I don't know about, or some crazy deal going on nobody else know about, make sure you guys be aware of that and to see if you guys are paying that on your back end of the mortgage or you guys have to put down an extra $5,000 towards your closing costs and you don't want to, okay? So make sure you guys really pay attention to that. But again, it's a soft pull, but you must do this to get a true pre-approval and not just a pre-qualification, okay? So make sure you guys submit all that documentation so that you can get a true verification. Now, once you guys get that, this is something that you guys must get, and this is called a loan estimate sheet. Here's what you want to look for when it comes to the loan estimate. You want to look for your loan amount, right? So this is going to be in number 1. These all look the same, by the way. None of these are going to be different. You want to look for your loan amount, right? You want to see what your estimated monthly payment is going to be, right? You also want to look for your estimated cash to close, which is going to be right here. This down bottom right here. I know my pencils are in the way, but if you look down bottom here, oh, I can get rid of that. Look at that. I didn't even know that. Nice. But if you look down bottom here, you want to know what your estimated cash to close is going to be. This is going to be huge. Again, if you look over here, loan amount, right? Same thing, what your monthly payment is going to be, and your estimated cash to close. Those are the 3 kind of big ones that you're looking for, right? Just to make sure, is it that 97% that you're putting down? Is it that 90% that you're putting down? 97% that you're getting loaned on, 90% that you're getting loaned on, which is basically 3% here and then 10% down here. So make sure you guys are looking for that to make sure that it qualifies again within your budget and the cash needed to close, you guys have that within your bank account, okay? Here are some of the documents that the lender is going to look for. It's going to be, obviously, if you guys have a regular job, I can't say regular job, but now, here's some of the documents that the lender is going to look for, right? Your W-2s. This is going to be your last 2 years of your tax return. You need these. If you guys are 1099, right, or you guys are a contractor, or you guys are simply self-employed, right, you're going to need to be working in that job for at least 2 years, or that business for at least 2 years. You have to do the same thing. You have to show your last 2 years, but you need to be working in that business for the last 2 years. That's going to be key. There are other types of loans that you get, like you could get a no income doc loan. I don't always recommend these. Generally, you have to put a lot more money down with these loans. But for the rest of you who work a typical 9 to 5, who's not self-employed, you have to show 2 years of your tax returns, your pay stubs, and generally it's going to be the last 2 months of your bank statements and just a simple copy of your ID. Personally, I would have these things ready to go right away. I wouldn't waste any time with this. That way you know exactly, and you can move quickly. So if there's a house that you've been eyeing for the last 2 days and you ready, like, hey, I want this house, this is what the things that you need to get together. Now, sometimes they will ask you for a couple more things, but for the most part, these 5 things are the things that the lender is going to require from any and everybody. All right. Now, there's always mistakes to avoid when it comes to lending, when it comes to your finances. And these are the things that I really want you guys to avoid. Okay. Here's the mistakes to avoid. Once you guys get pre-approved, right? Number one, you see I put it in bold letters. Keep your spending to a minimum. Do not, and I cannot stress this enough, do not do anything differently. Anything differently. Keep everything, when you went in there and applied for your mortgage, keep everything the way it's supposed to be and locked in to that, okay? Do not get any new credit cards. Do not open any new credit cards. Do not spend anything on a credit card. You paying cash for these next 2-3 months, 2 to 3 months. And again, these are not big purchases. Don't go buy no couches right away. If you're going to Raymore Flanagan, do not open up a new line of credit to pay for those couches. Do not do that. It is going to throw your debt to income, or basically how much you pay every single month in debt and how much you're bringing in every single month. That's going to throw your debt to income out of whack. It's going to make you not get approved for that loan that you just got approved for last week, okay? Do not do that. Now, do not move any large amounts of money. So for you people who have mattress money, let's call it mattress money or shoebox money, right? If you guys have that, do not go throw $5,000 or $10,000 in the bank. They're gonna flag your account. Anything over 5,000 these days is really supposed to be 10,000, but anything over 5,000 these days, they're gonna flag it. They're gonna ask you where this large sum of money, this large lump sum of money came from, and you're gonna have to explain that. You can't say, "Oh, I had that just stashed away in my drawer." That looks very scary to a bank. They don't know where that money came from. They don't know if you picked it up off the street. They don't know none of that stuff. So all the money you have in your bank, keep it there, right? Keep it there. If you guys do have mattress money, or if you guys are thinking about buying a house or you're in the preliminary stages, start putting $500, $1,000 every other week into the bank. That's not suspicious. But if you go in there and throw $10,000 in the bank out of nowhere, this has happened to one of my clients, and this literally almost cost him his forever home or his first home buying in the Buffalo area. This is scary. This dude went to go put $20,000 in a bank just because, some people just don't like banks, right? But you can't do that in this situation. You need to be putting that money in the bank every single month, every single week, okay? Do not switch jobs. Don't get a new car. If you guys are in the process of interviewing, tell that new company, hey, I'm buying a house right now. I have to complete this transaction before I accept the job. Most jobs are understanding in that situation. Most of them will say, okay, we can start you as soon as you get done, right? Don't switch jobs in the middle. It will hurt you because, again, you need 2 pay stubs. Sometimes you need 3 pay stubs to be able to qualify because they want to see that your income is consistent. If that is the case, if you switch jobs, there's a delay in your pay stubs, right? Most of y'all, there's a month gap between your last job and you getting paid from your new job. So it's gonna hurt you. Don't go get new cars. Again, that goes with the credit thing. You guys are taking out more credit. You cannot do that. That is going to hurt you when it comes to your approval. All right, so that was a lot. Finances, sticking within your budget. Don't do nothing crazy with your credit or finances. Make sure you guys check with 2 to 3 lenders, okay? Now we're about to get into the good stuff of actually showing homes. Here's my number one thing. You don't need to see every single home that you like. It does not make sense. Here's my rule of thumb that I always tell people. 5 to 6 homes. In your first 5 to 6 homes, you'll know or have a very good feel of what you like and what you don't like. Pictures are deceiving on Zillow, on Redfin, on Trulia. They're deceiving. They make room look bigger than it actually is. So yes, we're going to go see homes. We're going to go see multiple homes. You don't need to go see 30 homes. You're gonna drive your realtor crazy. You're gonna drive yourself crazy because stuff starts to blur together after a while. You don't remember if it was 123 Main Street or X, Y, and Z Main Street, right? Things start to blur together. Your first 5 to 6 homes, really study the house. Really know, all right, I like this layout. I don't really like that layout. I really want my bedroom on the first floors because my knees hurt after I get from the gym. Or I'm getting older, I don't want to do the stairs, right? You are going to know what type of layout you guys like. Do I like a split level? Do I want the stairs directly in front of my face as soon as I walk through the door? Or do I want them at the back of the house or to the side of the house? Do I need a sunroom? Do I like the galley style kitchen where the oven meets the next cupboard right across from it? Like, those are things that you're gonna start to pick out. So when you guys are going, or when we all go out to use and look at some different homes, your first 5 to 6, take an extra 7 minutes, right? You don't need to be there for 40 minutes, like, right? Depending on your type of person you are. But most people take 15, 20 minutes and really walk through that house, know the type of layout that you like and what you don't like. 50 houses is no need. You're gonna drive yourself and your realtor crazy. I'm just letting you know. Seeing is believing. Sometimes you guys really need to rub elbows in there, and I get it. I've been there for sure. Even with my first house, I had to really, all right, what do I want? What don't I want? Walk through, do that thing. But 30 houses, I'm telling you guys, you're gonna waste your time. You're gonna be upset, right? And this leads me to, before we even get started, know what your needs are versus what your wants are. Your needs are going to be the criteria that you must have. All right, we have 4 kids. There's no way you're going to fit into a 2-bedroom house. Like, you know what I'm saying? You're going to need a 3 to 4 bedroom house, maybe even a den in the basement or a finished basement, right? That's a need. Hey, I need 2 bathrooms. I cannot share a bathroom with my husband. We're gonna fight every single day and we're not gonna go through our marriage like that, right? So you need to be able to do that. Me and my wife, I can't share no bathroom with her all the time. I love her to pieces. We not sharing a bathroom every day. Like, I would go crazy. Listen to me. I'm going crazy. And y'all can feel wise the same way about your husband. I can't share a bathroom with this dude. You know, he don't clean up after himself. Stuff like that, that's a must. Your wants are gonna be, hey, we got a dog. We wanna let him run around, right? We might need that fence yard, but it's not a breaker because we always walk the dog anyways, right? That's a want. I want a master spiral staircase. That's a want. Like, you know what I'm saying? I want granite countertops right now. That could be a must, but you know, you can always put a granite countertop in later on. Like, you know what I'm saying? You could do that in 6 months or a year later. Hey, I love everything else about this house, but you know, we want some better countertops. That's okay, right? Your wants are going to be the things that you can live without, but add later on. Your needs are going to be the things that you must have right now inside the house, and there's no negotiation on it. So sit down, write out a list, spend time with your family. Spend time with your kids. Hey, we must live inside this school district right here. We're not giving that up, or we must live in these certain school districts because we want our kids to have the best education. Hey, we homeschool anyways, or, you know what I'm saying, we may not, want these certain things, whatever the case may be, right? Think about your amenities that you always want to have too. Those are going to be must, but really sit down and think about what you guys need versus what you guys want, and you just seen on HGTV. That must be nice, right? Now, set a timeline for yourself. Again, remember how I talked about the mindset earlier? You need to set a goal and have a strong goal in that I'm going to buy a house, right? If you keep this end goal in mind, this will keep your A, emotions in check, and then B, avoid those huge mistakes of doing anything costly that can cost you the house. So here's some questions to ask yourself. Am I moving to Buffalo or another place for employment? If that's the case, when do I report to work? That can give you a timeline. If I'm moving in by, if I'm starting work November 1st and it takes 2 months to close in Buffalo, which it does, I need to have something locked in at least by August 1st. I would even say mid-July, right? Um, Probably, well, I would say like August 1st, right? August, September, and I'll be able to get you, to start looking during that time frame, and then really have something locked in, like I said, by the September 1st time frame. School. When is the kid's first day of school? If you're moving into Buffalo, it's typically September, right after Labor Day or whatever that is, right? That first week of September. I need to be moved in. So that means I'm looking during the summer in the hot and the thick of things, right? Relocation. Are you relocating here? Again, is it for a job? Do you have a long drive ahead of you if you're relocating to Buffalo? And most importantly, for a lot of you, that's lease ending because you guys are coming out of an apartment. When does your lease end? You need to give yourself some buffer room. This is going to be key. You do not want to move out the same week your lease ends. I'm letting you know that now. If we can avoid that, that is huge. Because let's say you get any type of delay, that landlord is going to charge you extra later on to stay within that property because they need to get that property rented out sooner than later. So give yourself 2 weeks. Give yourself a month sometimes. You already paid for that month of rent, and typically your mortgage doesn't start until 2 months after your close date. So give yourself some buffer room. Again, it takes 2 months to close in the Buffalo area. You need to plan ahead. Give yourself a timeline, and this is something that we can always do. We can reverse engineer, and this is going to come back to really setting that goal on your purchase, okay? Now, when it comes to an agent, right? Yes, I am a real estate agent. Make sure you hire the right one. Just because your mother used that real estate agent 30 years ago does not mean it does not mean you have to use that person. You're going to spend, again, I said it takes 2 months to close, right? You're going to spend at least 3 to about 6 months with this person. You want to make sure you like this person and you vibe with this person. You're going to be talking, texting, emailing, seeing this person all the time. If you don't get along with them, this process is going to be miserable for you, and that shouldn't be. You want to get someone that you absolutely like and that you also trust, right? If you hear a lot of shady things about this realtor, how they may not be the best for a future client, read reviews online. Do that. Even if you don't choose me, that's fine, right? You may not like everything that I do. That's okay, right? But make sure the person you choose is valuable enough to be able to explain things to you. A good realtor has very good communication. They should never leave you in the process feeling stuck or feel like you're unsure or feel like you don't know what the heck is going on. A lot of realtors, or a really good realtor will make you feel that, hey, they got it. I didn't really do nothing. I knew what was going on. I had everything, and everything was to a T, and we closed somewhat on time. Sometimes a realtor can't avoid, when it's closed, but they have excellent communication. Hey, this was what was going on. There's no surprises. There's no, oh shoot, when did that happen type of feel, right? They have good communication. They know what's going on. They're reliable. They're trustworthy. Trust your gut. If your gut's telling you, this dude or this girl is full of stuff, trust that, right? Trust that. Hire the right agent and who's also active in the market. If they haven't sold the house in the last in the last 4 or 5 years, it's probably a reason. They're probably just doing that on the side. If they're only selling 2 houses a year, it's probably because they're really not doing the numbers that they're claiming they're doing, right? So make sure you guys are checking these things. Make sure you guys are aware of these things, okay? And then also, right, let's say you guys walk into a house, right? You always, I'm sorry, we went over these. So again, effective communication, active in the market. Do you get along with them? Are they trustworthy? One thing that you guys really want to pay attention to now is dual agency. Dual agency is this. Let's say you walk into an open house. You're going to have a realtor that's already there. That's going to be the realtor that's representing the seller. If you guys walk in there unrepresented or you don't have an agent yourself, that realtor, any good one at least, is going to ask you questions. Hey, are you working with a realtor right now? If you say no, that agent is going to vibe with you, try to build some rapport, and try to, especially if you really like that specific house, they're going to sell you that house that you really like, which makes all the obvious sense, right? But if you go in there unrepresented, that seller first, or that agent first, is working for the seller first, right? Let me say that again. That agent is working for the seller first. They signed with that seller first. If you come in there, this can get very scary, because when they're working with that seller, they can try to rope you into a price that's crazy, right? I'm not saying that every realtor does that, but there's some sleaze balls out there, guys. Be aware of that, right? You always want to go in with somebody who has your back throughout the process. And then even in that, this is called dual agency. When that agent is working for both, they may not be able to negotiate as hard for you because they know they have to keep the seller in mind. Now, agents are fair. I've ran into this. Some agents are fair. I've ran into this, right, where you can represent both sides. I've done this. I don't always like to do it, but if the scenario presents itself and I absolutely have to, I will do it. The thing that's hard is because sometimes the seller may not understand, hey, why are you working for them when you already signed with me? So again, they may not be able to represent you as best. So I would just recommend getting someone who has your back throughout this entire process and who can negotiate on your behalf the entire time. Okay, especially when you guys are new, you guys don't know the entire process. You don't want to skip a beat here. You want to know everything that's going on, especially for your first time, because your first time can set you up for life, forever. All right. Now, when it comes to house shopping, now that we're in the thick of things, right? We're starting to get into house shopping. We're starting to look. We're starting to know. All right, what don't I like? What do I like? I like this layout. I want to be in this area. Be patient, guys. The search can take some time, especially within the Buffalo area. Again, by your fifth house, you'll know what you like, what you don't like. The thing I say about be patient is because the Buffalo market right now is very, very competitive. And for first time home buyers, especially if you guys are looking under that $300,000 price point, so if you guys are looking in 300K and lower, this can be very tricky because there's a lot of people in that pool, which you got to think. You have downsizers in that pool. You have other first-time home buyers, right? Other FTB, let's call it first-time home buyers in that pool. But you also have people looking to possibly relocate here or just set up shop here, right? Who's looking at the Buffalo market like, hey, those houses are cheap over there. Let me just see what I can get. You have a lot of people pulled in that $300,000 or less price range. So you gotta have a lot of competition, which you're gonna need patience. When you see a house you like, jump on the house, right? You don't need to necessarily overbid if you don't feel comfortable with the house. But if you really love the house and that checks a lot of your boxes, you need to ask yourself, right? And the question I always ask my client, if somebody else bought this house instead of you, would you be upset? The chances are, if you really love the house, it's gonna be yes. Sometimes you're gonna have to go your highest and best. If you give your highest and best every single time, you at least know, hey, we're giving out all these houses. If you're continuing to get bid, and maybe something that, hey, somebody just going 20, 30,000 over us, you can't help that. But if it's a matter of 2 to 3,000 or $5,000, at the end of the day, your mortgage payment is gonna be $10 to $20 more. Like, you know what I'm saying? That may not hurt you in your budget. If that's pulling on your budget, okay, well, we gotta just suck it up. But that $10, sometimes you can be able to afford that, right? So just be patient in this process. Know that this is something that's going to happen, and continue to put your best foot forward. Now, there's some strategies and things that we can do as far as home inspections. Not doing home inspections, I don't really recommend that all the time, but if the house is pristine, I'll be able to scope out a couple things as far as what it needs, what it don't needs. I'll point out some things. I've been in this for a while. I've seen a lot of different repairs and what things cost. So I'll be able to help you out in that realm. And then at the same time, no, we're only in the house for 20 to 30 minutes. That home inspector is going to comb through everything. So what you always can do is, hey, we'll do a home inspection, but we'll just do it for our knowledge only. we won't ask for any cancellations or any repairs based on our home inspection results. So that's a key strategy that I use a lot, because you still get the opportunity to do the home inspection. You just know either way you're going for it with the house, okay? So be patient in these things, guys. And when you think about it, plan for the future. Don't buy a house that's so unique that you won't be able to sell it in 3 to 5 years when most people get a new house anyways. Don't go buy a 2-bedroom when you know you're about to have a baby later on. Like, you know what I'm saying? If you already got one kid and you're trying to buy a 2-bedroom, you know you're gonna run out of space very soon. So try to plan for the future, especially for you guys that's thinking about building first. Again, don't build it so unique that you can't sell it later on. That doesn't make any sense, right? You want to use this as somewhat of an investment, not the best investment in the world, but you know, it can be some type of return for you guys. Make sure that you guys really plan for the future when it comes to that. Put a bathroom, if you can, on the first level or where you're entertaining at a lot, right? If you guys are upgrading, upgrade a new bathroom. The best two investments you can make inside the house is to the kitchen and the bathroom. So as you guys are there, don't necessarily go throw a $30,000 pool in the backyard when nobody else has a pool on your street. That doesn't make any sense. Put 30 grand into the kitchen and some brand new bathrooms, like, you know, or add a bathroom, right? Maybe put a little patio set in the back. Put an up-ground pool, $2,000 to $3,000, you'll be good, right? If you just gotta have a pool, but don't go throw a $40,000 in-ground pool in. That doesn't make any sense. Put a kitchen, put a bathroom in, you'll be good to go. Now, when it comes to making an offer, as we just talked about, going with our highest and best, we talked about this a little bit already, is going to be 100% sure that you guys are getting the house that you guys really want or can afford at the time. If you guys are 1,000% sure, you have to put your best foot forward on this. It's going to be highest and best, and maybe a situation where we only do home inspection for our knowledge only if you feel you're like, hey, Devontae, I can't do that, right? I got to get a home inspection. I need the option to be able to back out of that home inspection or back out of that house based on a home inspection. Then, hey, we got to do what we got to do. That's okay. There's a lot of different strategies that we can take to win. Making an offer on a house is something that we can definitely do, right? In Buffalo, we take care of a lot of the writing of the contracts and things. We do need an attorney here, right? We do need an attorney. The attorney is generally around $800, right? So attorney fees are generally going to be around $800. Home inspection fees are generally going to be around $450, I would say. Sometimes you can get for $400. I would say $450 all the way to $550, especially if you guys are thinking about doing a radon test or something like that. Those are going to be out of pocket costs that we talked about early. And then also, you're going to have your appraisal fee, which we'll talk about in just one second. So these are really going to be the steps you have when it comes to getting an offer, right? You see the house you like, you're going to place the offer in, right? The second step is winning that offer or getting that signed contract from the seller. We want to, again, you're going to review that contract with the attorney. That attorney is going to be $800. The next step is going to be getting our home inspection done. Again, that home inspection is going to be $450 all the way up until $550, depending on if you got if you guys want any other specific inspections done, like a plumbing. So, you know, they'll stick a tube down there or a camera down there and make sure the plumbing is good or the sewer pipe is good from the street all the way to the house. You also can do a radon, you can't even see that, a radon test. You could do something like a radon test or any just a mold test. If you guys want to do something like that, you always can do that. Again, inspections are highly recommended. If you guys can do one, I highly recommend them. These inspectors are looking for problems, right? So again, remember what I told you about the emotions. They're looking on your best interest for all the problems within the house, right? If this is the case, there are going to be things that's major, right? You're going to have your major and minor items, right? Minor items are going to be, hey, you got some peel and paint in that corner. You're going to slap on that corner. As long as there's no water damage, you may get up there and throw some new paint on there, right? Or this is an old water leak. It's brown up there right now, right? We know it's old because they just replaced the roof. We have the receipt of the roof. We can see that there is a brand new roof. So, we may need to patch this up and put in, some, paint up and then get paint the wall up there now, right? A major item is going to be, that roof is 25 years old. You got about a year left on that roof. That's going to be a $20,000 to $25,000 bill later on. That's a major item. Is the wall bowing in the basement? Is the electrical still all knob and tube? Those are major items. The cosmetic items, the things that you can upgrade later on, those are minor items. There's a small plumbing leak underneath the sink, right? We can get that fixed. That's $50 for a plumber. If you know how to do it yourself, honestly, YouTube University, you can swap all that out yourself, but those are minor things. So we're gonna get the report back. It could look like a grocery list, right? Don't freak out. We're gonna go through those things line item by line item, point out which ones are major, which ones are minor, and which ones that we want to negotiate with the seller to either be fixed or get it credit for later on. All right, so we shopped for houses. We got our offer done. We did negotiations and inspections. Now it's time for the appraisal. When it comes to the appraisal, we want this number either at what we're paying for, so I'm gonna put PP for purchase price, or above PP or purchase price, right? If this is below the purchase price, here's where we have to renegotiate, because the bank is never going to lend on a house that doesn't appraise. So for even numbers, let's say we buy a house for, or a purchase price for $350. We need this to appraise for $350 or above $350. If it's below $350, let's say it's $345, we're going to go back to that seller. Look at here. This price for $345. We're not coming out of pocket the extra $5,000 to meet up there. So you guys have to drop that price down. If the seller is being stubborn, it's okay to walk away in this situation. You don't want to walk into a house with negative equity. That doesn't make any sense. Typically, the seller will be like, I'll come back to the seller. Look, you're only going to deal with this problem with somebody else. So you might as well just figure this out with us, drop this down. That way we can go forward, because now you already lost 30 days on market or 40 days on market, right? Or typically it's 2 weeks. So you probably lost between 21 to 30 days on market already, right? Now you have to go explain to somebody else that, hey, this didn't appraise for this number. If that's the case, you might as well just work this out with us, so you're not going back to open houses and all that showings, stuff like that. We'll make sure that we get back to the seller on to make sure that we can get this dropped down. But unless you absolutely 1,000% want this house, and that $5,000 is not gonna really hurt you in it, and the seller is unwilling to come down, and again, unless you really, really want that house, I would recommend either walking away or letting that seller breathe a little bit. All right, they'll work with us and we'll get that down to the $345 new purchase price, okay? But this has to appraise for at or above whatever we purchase it for. And at this point, you're walking into your Buffalo home, all right? So we discussed everything from the start, pre-approval, right? Once we get the pre-approval, we're knowing our budget, we're knowing our finances, now we're getting out shopping. You don't need to see 30 homes, guys. If it takes that, it takes that. But off the bat, you don't need to see 30 homes right away, right? 5 to 6, get to 10, right? If you need to get to 10, and let's start making some offers in between that kind of 6 to 8 point of houses, right? Now that we find a house that we like, we place the offer in. It's gonna go, once we get the signed contract from the seller, it's gonna be signed contract, attorney, got to get the attorney's approval. Generally, that's 2 to 3 days. Home inspection, generally that's about 3 to 4 days. And then we get the appraisal done. Once the appraisal is done, now we can really get the mortgage commitment letter. Once the mortgage commitment letter comes out, we pretty much in limbo. We're off to the races. We get any other last documentation in. From that point, we are on our way to getting keys in hand, guys. Now, I know that was a very long video. It's a lot to unpack in that video. If you guys have any questions about anything, make sure you guys reach out to me. Call, email, text. It does not matter. If you guys are looking for your first home, make sure you guys reach out to me. Again, call, email, text. I would love to be of service. As always, guys, I will see you inside the next video.